This is certainly one of the videos that I assume is going to get me a little bit of feedback and a little bit of hate. Hopefully, not too much hate. I actually think that, it's one of those things that PlayStation, I don't understand them sometimes, right? There's been points over the years where I've really just been a huge PlayStation fan and thought they really get it. They really get it. They understand what gamers want. A little bit more traditional values, a little bit more traditional console. They understand. They understand that PlayStation has gotten big. One of the reasons PlayStation has gotten so beloved is because they do a great single-player, story-driven narrative game, right? And even though, like, a game in particular, like Horizon Forbidden West, I have trouble clicking with that, but I don't have trouble clicking with God of War, or a Ghost of Tsushima, or a Uncharted, right? These are games that I absolutely have no problems clicking with. For some reason, I just have a hard time with, the situation with Horizon Forbidden West, even though I still think it's a fantastic game. Now, with that being said, the one thing that I think Sony would do that would absolutely kind of crush what has really become a great place in the video game industry. In fact, Sony is one of the only companies left doing single player games, and so when you see news like this, you really start to question it. First, I was kind of worried because they bought Bungie, and Bungie's games are all going to stay multiplat. That's okay, like whatever, it is what it is. But when they start talking about having a certain amount of live service games and things like that, I feel like that's not Sony's wheelhouse. That's not what Sony does best. And the games that they're actually kind of hyping up lately, like with Jade Raymond Studios and things like that, another live service game. Okay, and now with this, they've invested into Excelbyte, which is a back-end services platform for live service games. Again, it doesn't really bode well, and I know what people are thinking, well, it's not going to impact their single-player games. But if you think about this, their best studio is Naughty Dog, right? And Naughty Dog is currently making a Last of Us remake, which who the hell asked for that? Like, listen, I love that series. I think it's a great series. I personally prefer the second game, but that game already has kind of come and gone, right? They already remastered the first game, and I don't know that it needs a remake. And then I guess they're making Factions, which is a live service game. So you have your best studio doing a remake that nobody asked for and a live service game. You even look at Insomniac Games. They're making, yes, Spider-Man 2, so that's cool, and Wolverine, but apparently they're making a multiplayer game too. I just worry that they're going to go too much into this whole multiplayer aspect, and that's not something that I'm a big fan of from Sony. Sony has a wheelhouse. So Sony's latest investment has been revealed, though it's not an acquisition, but rather a financial investment in a company called Excelbyte. They actually provide back-end services for live service games, from matchmaking to cloud progression and in lobbies and things like that. So the report comes from website TechCrunch, and though it doesn't say exactly how much Sony put in, it does say that Excelbyte raised $60 million in the most recent round of funding. Other investors include NetEase, and some of Excelbyte's current clients include Remedy Entertainment, Deep Silver Volition, Krafton, and 1047 Games. Excelbyte was started by Mr. Lee, who runs the company as Chief Executive Officer back in 2016. Before that, Lee led the back-end engineering team at Epic Games, and he wants to make the tools for live service games available for more developers. Many of those creators have stated and started building live service games, and they simultaneously realize how difficult it is to build a scalable back-end platform from scratch. The results in delayed ship dates, titles that have trouble scaling on launch, and a backlog of live service features that are never implemented in-game. Now, being a bespoke back-end platform distracts and diverts resources away from that game. Makers really want to spend time on making the game better and things like that, perfecting the core gameplay loop for the players. Now, according to this, Senior Vice President of Finance and Corporate Development and Strategy at Sony said of the investment, building massive and extensive online worlds requires a significant technical infrastructure to ensure creators can achieve their vision. We already know that Sony intends to develop more live service games going forward, and being able to outsource the back-end infrastructure could be a great boon for Sony, but also, to me, it just raises a little bit of concern, a little bit of question, because basically we are sort of in this weird situation right now where Sony has a lot going for it, but also Microsoft has kind of come back in a big way to sort of challenge what we know about Sony, right? So think about that for a second. Sony is, obviously doing fantastic. PS5s are, whatever they are, 17, 18 million consoles sold. But, Microsoft is right behind them with, 14, 15 million. And they have a lot of, a lot of hype and a lot of kind of people on board with Xbox right now thanks to Game Pass. And we're going into, being a month away from Microsoft Xbox Bethesda Showcase, which, if going by last year, we saw a big uptick in the amount of Xboxes actually bought due to people being hyped and excited for the future of Xbox and Game Pass. So we could probably expect something similar now that Microsoft has allegedly they're going to have, every or a ton of their own developers have some kind of demo or video to show. I think that's going to get people even more excited for the future of Xbox. And that, to me, says everything. That says that Microsoft is ready to go, and Microsoft has games ready to go at a particular time, when Sony, looks like there's rumblings of even that God of War might get pushed into next year. Now, I don't want to speak to that because I don't know, but I do think that it's pretty interesting that we keep seeing stuff like this happen. And, what starts off looking like a phenomenal year for Sony, maybe one of the, maybe one of the biggest things that I've ever seen. With it would have been God of War, Horizon, you got Gran Turismo. Those are 3 big titles, right? And it's interesting to me that it could just be down to the 2 first party. And then if Microsoft does release a Motorsport, a Redfall, and Starfield, Microsoft ends up actually having more first party output this year than Sony. So I think that not enough people are kind of talking about this. But yeah, I do find it to be very interesting. And I find it to be very kind of formidable that, Sony is in this kind of way to get, so many live service games, right? Like, I find that to be a little bit odd. Not that there's anything wrong with service games. I think that's fine, but I just think that it's tough to compete with the big third-party service games that we're seeing, from the big third parties, like the Fortnites, the PUBGs, the Apex Legends, all that kind of stuff. Those are like, free-to-play stuff, and I'm not sure that, to be quite honest, I'm not 100% sure that something from Sony themselves would be able to necessarily compete with that type of situation. So, I mean, listen, anything can change. I just don't want to see Sony go and do something that really kind of costs them, and really cost the single player aspect of games. I love tons and tons and tons of single player games from Sony. I'm not saying that they shouldn't do anything multiplayer, because they did do some good multiplayer games back in the day, but not everything has to be like service based or that much service based, in my opinion anyway. I just, I hope that they don't totally ruin kind of what they got going on, because I feel like they've got a lot going on, and I love what they're kind of doing. So I think that that's interesting to me that they're going all in on this, and I'm not a huge fan of that. What do you guys think? I mean, maybe you guys feel differently. Maybe it won't take away from what they're doing, but when Naughty Dog, their best company, their best studio, is doing a multiplayer game, Insomniac's doing a multiplayer game, I don't know, just something there. I don't know. With that being said, I'm Crap Gamer. This is Crap Gamer Reviews. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fantastic day. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. Crap Gamer out.